All right, so we carry on from where we left off. On to part 3 of the session today. I'll be talking about some miscellaneous things here. The first is about AP awards. So AP awards are variously given to students who do multiple APs with excellence. A detailed description can be found on the AP website, College Board AP student website. So you have 3 of them. One is an AP scholar, second an AP scholar with honors, and the third is an AP scholar with distinction. A fourth is an AP International Diploma, which is a little difficult because it involves 2 languages. So AP Scholar with Distinction, which is the highest award, is okay. I'll cover up the AP Capstone Diploma later. So let me cover it up here only. AP Capstone Diploma is something that you earn when you do AP Research and AP Seminar. AP Research and AP Seminar cannot be taken as exams. They can be taken only as courses when they're offered inside a school. So it's pretty much irrelevant for discussion in the current platform outside the US. So AP Scholar with honors, AP Scholar with distinction are the 3 awards. The highest of them, AP Scholar with distinction, you should have taken 5 APs in all, which could have been taken across years. You don't have to take all of them in the same year. Second, your average AP score should be 3.5, which means if I add up all these grades, it should add up to a 17.5 at least. And you should not have got less than 3 in any of the APs to be able to qualify for this. Maybe you've done 6 APs, they'll look at only the best 5. So the best 5, you should have 3 individually in each one of them and 3.5 average. And then similarly, it's something for AP honors and something for AP scholar. So, and these they obviously, I mean, they are reported to colleges when you forward your AP scores, and they have a wee bit of weightage on your applications. They look good. They look pretty good. It shows all around what you call as grip over these AP subjects. The second thing that I want to talk about is registering for the APs. It's a hugely misunderstood. Let's understand 2 things. There is something called administrations. So the APs are held twice every year, both the times in May. So the first of these administrations, which is called as early administration, would be the first 2 weeks of May, Monday through Friday. APs are not conducted on Saturdays and Sundays. They're not given on Saturdays and Sundays. It's Monday through Friday, and there are 2 options available. One is a morning slot, one is the afternoon slot. At some schools, we also have a late afternoon slot that starts at 2 p.m. Now, in the late administration, which is 3rd week of May, all these APs are again offered in a compressed format. So this would typically last just a 5-day window, which is 3rd week of May. And you'll have more clashing APs as compared to the first round. Why do they do it? Some kids might have schools in the school exams in the first 2 what you call as weeks of May with the regular administration. Else you might be opting for 2 APs which are clashing in the first round. That's why you need an additional window. Or you're taking too many APs, you just want to stagger them and not take too many close to each other. So that's why they offer. So this is early administration and late administration. Then there is registration. Early registration and late registration. Please do not confuse these 2 different dimensions. Early registrations for the APs typically start sometimes in October, at times even in September end. And they've mostly ended by the 2nd week of November. By 1st week of November, most of these will get over, leading the students to think that the AP registrations have ended. That is not the case. They'll reopen variously from the last week of December to 1st week of January, which is what we call as late registration. Late registration, the fee is going to be higher. The fee is going to be typically 3,000 to 4,000 rupees per AP higher as compared to what it was for early registration. So if you've decided, you must go for early registration. Also, in certain cases, for example, in Delhi, if you're looking for a seat for AP Calculus, you'll never find it in late registration. All the seats would be sold out in early registration. And then you might be forced to travel to other nearby locations to take that AP. The late registration typically ends in 1st week of March. Some of them might even have going into 10th day of March. I'll also tell you a catch here. In case the late registration has ended and you're maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days late, try to get the student to connect with the AP coordinator at school. In quite a few cases, they will be able to register them even if registrations have ended. Now, registrations are done in a two-part process. So one on the College Board's website, you have to register, and you have to pay to the school directly. The fee does not go to College Board. The fee goes to the school. A little complicated, but I'll give you a very good suggestion here. You can take it down if you wish. You just have to Google taking AP exams in India. When you Google taking AP exams in India, it will take you to College Board India page. On that, there's going to be a list of all the centers which are offering these APs. Click on the center where you propose to take the APs. Each of these schools, it will take you to the school website. The school website will have an AP microsite which will have all instructions. I dare say it's a little complicated. It's not that simple. So registering for the APs, early testing, late testing. Also, if you registered for early testing and later on something comes up, typically your school exams, and you want to postpone it to late testing, if you write to the AP coordinator at the center, in most cases, they'll be able to shift it, provided you are able to give them an adequate reason as to why do you want this shift to happen. It's not an arbitrary shift that you want to change the test. You have a solid reason why you want to change the test. For example, if there's a school exam coming up, please attach your date sheet that I've got exam this date. If you have a marriage in the family, go and attach a invitation card for the wedding. They'll be happy to postpone it. Certain schools this year have also added a super late slot last year. Super late slot, which was end of May. This happened because most of the ICSE and CBSE exams this time they were placed in May instead of the usual March window. But that is not something that we really expect to happen over and over again, time and again. So this was, I think, a one-time exception that the College Board made for Indian students who unfortunately this time had their exams running through May, some of them ending as late as 20th of May, 22nd of May. So they found a way out for the Indian students. Coming now to more general questions. How advisable are APs in 9th and 10th? Sincere, hardworking kids would be able to do it. Kids who have to be pushed should not do it in grade 9 and grade 10, just for the sake of doing it. Also, grade 9 and grade 10 kids typically have more time with them. What are the APs which kids can take in grade 9 and grade 10? Don't offer difficult APs. Get them to start with the easier ones. What are the easier APs? Microeconomics, excellent, has a lot of value. Psychology is doable as early as grade 9. A lot of my grade 9 kids do psychology and get a 4 and a 5. Environmental science is doable. Com science is doable in grade 10, would not recommend grade 9. Unless you are a language buff, Java buff, then things are different. Human geography is doable in grade 10. Comparative government is doable in grade 10. Keep the heavier APs for later. Again, if you want a student to take 5 APs, never pack them in the same year. Would be impossible. Start in grade 9, 1, 2, 2, maybe 1, 1, 3. Look at something like that. So in a year, I never recommend more than 3 APs, given that they have to be done over and above what you're doing at school. Also, it's a function of whether you're taking APs in the same subject that you're studying for school, or you have to develop new subjects outright. That's one of the key considerations here. So, but typically we never recommend more than 3 APs. As an organization, we never sign on a student for more than 2 APs for a full course. For a third one, they might sign on for a crash course or a test series. That's different. But we don't sign them on for more than 2 APs at a time. It's just not feasible. What else? Why do IB students need to take an AP? To show diversity, to show diversity. I have a science heavy profile. I want to do some humanities. Let me go ahead and take an AP. But if I was an IB student, I would never recommend taking an AP in the same subjects which I was studying at school, because I don't need to prove equivalence. Self-study versus classes. Classes come at a cost, not just a financial cost, but a huge time cost as well, which is the most scarce resource, in my opinion, that the students have at this stage. So, one, if you do opt for classes, do not do things that you know already. So if I'm studying physics at school, I want to do a physics C mechanics and I join a full course, not recommended. Just join a test series at the end if you're hesitant. AP, which is you sign on a class for, is going to take at least 70, 80 hours, maybe 90 of your time. You have that kind of time. A self-study AP, you might be able to do it in 30 hours as well. So that's a call that each student has to take. To what extent you have to be pushed, to what extent you're self-motivated. The only art that you need to learn to crack the APs is, is the art of writing the FRQs. Content is available, dime a dozen. Barron's book normally are very good resources. You can use them for all the APs that you take. So self-study versus classes. Start early. If you want to take AP, start early. Grade 9, grade 10. Grade 10 at max is the best place to start. Maybe if you take 1 or 2 APs in grade 10. Also, if you want to prepare for 2 APs in grade 10, don't start both of them together. Start them sequentially. If preparing for calculus, any of the calculus, don't start later than October of the previous year. It become very difficult. Starting in January, calculus, that's where I see most students landing in trouble. It does not really help them. Okay, what else? When to start prep, depending upon what APs you're taking. In most cases, I would say September, October types is a nice time to start. Go at a very, very slow pace. These are all achievement tests, like your school curriculum. Do a class a week, maybe 2 classes a week for 2 APs. Take time from September, October until about February end to finish off your core prep, the content part of it, the portion. And then in March and April, sit down and do a weekly test in each of the APs. And then take a rigorous analysis, a thorough review of the AP test, mock test that you've done. This is how. So kids who follow this trajectory rarely find a problem. But kids who want to pack it up towards the end and multiple APs, that's where we land in trouble. Okay, before I end this third part, a small word about who we are and what we do. We are Satin Paper. We are the premier online test prep company in India, probably the largest in India today. We work with students from about 60 countries. And unlike our flagship SAT and ACT programs, where I think we had 199 of my students doing a 99th percentile last year, APs we started about 3 years ago. And in 2022 May, we sold about 198 AP courses last year, which means when I say AP courses, so one student taking 2 APs, we count it as 2 courses sold. We had 95 scores of 5 each, about 70 scores of 4 each, and the rest were 3s and 2s and the odd one as well. But all in all, a phenomenal performance in terms of results. We offer the largest variety of AP courses in India. So what all do we offer currently? We offer Calc AB, BC both. We offer all 4 physics. We offer biology. We offer computer science A. We offer EVS. We offer comparative government and politics. We offer US history. Nobody else offers that in India. Starting this year, we'll also be offering world history. We offer both economics. We offer AP psychology. We offer AP statistics. That's a wide variety, vast variety. And in fact, we've also added more variants to our AP courses to suit the students' requirements. Traditionally, we have been a one-on-one prep company. So when we do the SAT or the ACT prep, that's exclusively one-on-one. We never do batches over there. But for APs being achievement tests and to make it financially more feasible because kid takes multiple APs, for APs, we offer batches as well. And we started batches for the first time this year itself for the exam year 2022. End of the day, when I analyze my results, I see no significant uptick on one-on-one programs over the batches. So in terms of results, the batches work as well. Though for international students, we do not offer batches because of the time difference we are not able to manage. Again, batches may not be available in all subjects, and one-on-one also may not be available in all subjects. That's why I told you our offerings are as complicated as the exams themselves. For example, in Com Science A, we do not offer one-on-one prep, But in a human geography or a comparative government and politics, we'll not offer batches, we'll offer only one-on-one prep. A detailed description is given on our website in the pricing tab, on the AP tab under the pricing section, so which the students can visit to find it out. Anybody who wants to, learn more about our AP courses, a student you want to recommend anyone, they can just go to the contact us tab and fix up a phone call with one of my admission officers who will be glad to assist them. We'll never admit anyone to an AP course without a diagnostic test. So what happens here is, post the initial interaction, we share a class recording and we share some reading materials, which the student has to go through, take about 3 to 5 days of time and appear for a 1-hour test. What does this test them for? Nothing much, nothing much. But when I see a student postponing the test 3 times over, we refuse to sign them on because it puts a very serious question mark on the commitment of the student, which is going to have a huge problem for us later on in the course. So that's what we do here. So we have 2 options available until year before last. One was a group and one was a one-on-one. To this, we have added 2 more variations this year. One is a crash course. A crash course starts sometimes towards February end, March 1st, 2nd week, has more frequent classes, but practically the same course, slightly abridged, is more intense format of the course, is slightly cheaper. And then we had lots of requests, I'm studying physics at school, I want to do a physics class. I used to shoo them away. Studying physics at school, what do you want a physics class for? I said, I don't believe in this. Being a test prep guy myself, I'm dead against tuitions. And unfortunately, India is like that. India is like that, if and parents are crazy about getting a tuition for anything and everything. What they forget is that the more tuitions you add to their plate, the less time they'll have to self-study, and it is not going to work for them. So, but still, conceding to their demands, we launched a test series, which is 6 to 8 test papers and an individual feedback given to the student at the end of every test in the form of a 1-hour session. So subjects which you're studying at school, you're good with them, you're good academically, you just want the AP acclimatization. Test series is the product to join. It's not a cheap product. So we charge almost 50 grand for a test series for any of these areas, which is just for 8 tests followed by feedback. So those are some of the variants that we have. Again, somebody sits down from my team and advises the student as to what course and what variant they should opt for, what would be the most appropriate thing for them. So before I move on to part 4, what you have to very finely balance here is desirability versus feasibility. I'm doing grade 11 CBSE. I'm working on 3 research projects. I'm the head boy of my school. I'm writing 1 research paper as well. I have done 1 SAT attempt in October. I want to do 1 more in March. And I've got my school final exam sometimes the end of February. I want to do AP Calculus BC. And I want to start in January. I am doing mechanical engineering, so this is a highly recommended AP for me. My verdict here, desirable, yes. Feasible, no. No. With so many things on the plate, a pending SAT, even if I sign on this student for an AP Calculus, my first condition for him or her is going to be that push your SAT from March to August. Otherwise, it will just not get done. So it's pretty much a task of workload management for most of these students at this stage. And which is where I find most of these AP campaigns going wrong. Okay. So that's where we are. We take the next, round of questions now, and then we'll move on to the last part, which AP is to be advised to which student and when. A general outline. So if you have any questions at this stage, please feel very free to ask.
And while we are going through the questions, I'll also launch a couple of quick polls. So if you can please answer those poll questions right now, that would be very helpful for us to plan the future session. So question number 1 is, which curriculum do you teach? And then you can select multiple options from here. So the first poll question is right in front of you. Another 5 seconds. All right, we'll move on to the second poll question. Which you are a counselor or an independent counselor or a teacher or a principal? All right, thank you for answering. Just 2 more seconds. Okay, thank you. And my final poll question is, where are you joining us from today? Are you from Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, or which city are you joining us from today? Okay, fantastic. Thank you. That's all the questions that I had. Great. So back to the Q&A.
Right. Any questions for me? Anyone? None at all? Okay. And at any point in time, you're stuck with advising APs to a student, my phone number is mentioned here. Do not hesitate to write a WhatsApp message to me. You'll normally find me free in the wee hours of the morning. I'm an early riser. If you write to me late in the evening, it might be the next day morning until I respond. Okay, so here we go. What AP to be advised to whom? I've covered a lot of this in between, but probably it has to follow what we discussed in the first part of this session today. It has to follow what is your purpose in taking the APs. And I think a lot of clarity can be reached if we are able to define that. Okay. Whether they state it or they do not state it, 95% of the students are least bothered about credits. Okay. Their primary purpose is, would this AP help me in my college applications? Okay. So I start this with credits. If you want to apply or take an AP for the purpose of college credits, take them at the end of grade 12. Take them at the end of grade 12. A calculus BC that you take at the end of grade 12 would take you only 1/4 of the effort that will take you at the end of grade 11. So if I want to do, and it's a very good idea to take calculus BC for credit purposes, but how should I do it? Finish off my CBSE exam, maybe do it by yourselves or join a test series or join a crash course, and you'll be done. Because through grade 12, in both these curricula, you would have studied large part of what the AP Calculus BC would need from you. That's about credits. Credits, and you can also take APs for college credits when you are in college. At the end of first year, whatever APs you take, they'll still count with the credits, although very few and supremely motivated students only are going to do that. Not many. Once they are into college, the objective is achieved. Equivalence. If you just wanted to show equivalence, you'll only be doing APs in subjects that you're studying in school. And this is a lot easier to do. For example, I'm studying economics, psychology, and sociology at school. Doing economics and psychology AP for me is going to be far, far, far easy than doing a statistics and a computer science A, or for that matter, doing a comparative government and politics AP. So, but the jury is out here. Put yourselves in the admission officer's shoes. What would I prefer? An econ and psych student who has done econ and psych AP, or an econ and psych student who has done com science and statistics AP? I think you'll get the answer for yourselves. I'm adding far more, I'm enriching my profile by choosing to do APs in subjects other than what I study at school. And I think in that case, there's going to be no question on the equivalence part. If studying economics at my school, I can do an AP in your statistics. I think studying economics in my school, I can always do your economics AP. So that's the way I approach it. If you want to show enhanced interest. So for second purpose, equivalence will only do APs in areas that you're studying at school. Your APs will follow your school subjects. If this was the only intended purpose, and let me reiterate, it's going to be a lot easier. So whereas if I'm studying economics and psychology, what's desirable? Desirable is AP statistics and AP computer science A. Though that would take a lot of your time. So that would rate low on feasibility. If I choose to do AP in econ and psychology, that will rate very high on feasibility. So I'll be able to do it alongside other things with the shorter prep duration as well. Diversity, you will never, if you wanted to show diversity, and that is what my personal favorite is, you will never do APs in subjects you're studying at school, whether you are doing IB or you're doing CBSE or you're doing ISC, irrespective. If I'm going to be investing time in preparing for an AP, I would always choose to do the APs in areas other than what I'm studying currently, because it adds to my list of competence. And a competence in AP, nobody is ever going to dispute. It's not like a course that I've done on Coursera or edX, which would rate very lowly compared to an AP. Strengthening a project or research, it has to be in the areas that you're doing project or research on. Some of your projects includes a huge amount of mathematical modeling. Go take an AP calculus. It involves endless hypothesis testing. Match it up with an AP statistics. It involves some behavioral analysis. Why don't you do an AP psychology? It looks beautiful. It shows that I've taken my passion or my interest in this particular field one notch further. And that is something that will help you a lot. To strengthen your academic profile, you may do just about any AP which you are interested in, which you think relates to your area of major. This is like, the subject test out of the way now. That was a beautiful way to strengthen your academic profile, but subject tests were very, very simple. The APs take time and effort. This is serious business. And lastly, early start APs. Do not choose the difficult ones, please. Do not choose the difficult ones. I get requests from ninth graders. I want to do a physics C mechanics. We refuse it. I get requests from 10th graders. I want to do biology. I refuse it. I want to do a history AP. I refuse it. What I do not want is that you hand out a difficult AP to a kid in grade 9, grade 10, and she struggles with it through and through. And eventually it closes all further doors. Next time the student is not going to touch an AP with a watch. Rather, give them a very simple AP to play around with. We have substantially reduced our fee towards AP environmental science. We want to see greater traction there. Although environmental science results this year have been a disaster across the globe. The College Board itself is investigating what went wrong. So, but AP EVS is a very sweet AP to take. So is microeconomics, so is psychology. My two personal favorites. Psychology, we have a deadly record. We have a deadly record. Almost 85% of all the kids that we have ever worked with, we've got a 5 on 5. Whereas in actual, only 10% of the kids get a 5 on psychology. So psychology is a tough to take AP, but somehow that's something that we have specialized in. Psychology, statistics, two APs we are really very strong at. We are very good with calculus, but we are very, very choosy in whom do we offer calculus to. I mean, a student who's not motivated enough would normally chicken out in between. So early start, these are the APs you may look. Grade 11, you may look at something like comparative government and politics or a history AP. Pretty much that is the sphere that we are working towards. More than that, this is something which has to be done on a case-to-case basis. So whenever somebody approaches us for an AP, somebody senior from the team will always sit down with the student and the parent for about a 15-minute Zoom call, where we rectify their AP choices, what they're doing is right or wrong, or some modification needs to be done on that front. So these are the two angles, I've always seen when somebody would come to us, we'll only talk about feasibility. I'm least bothered about desirability. Counselors would only be bothered about desirability, never look at feasibility. I think somewhere down the line, the two of us will have to get together and reconcile these two very contrasting but very important objectives of taking an AP. So, easy AP names. Microeconomic psychology, number one. Number two, environmental science. Computer science A. Statistics. Human geography. Human geography we don't recommend in grade 9. It's too theoretical and too effort involving. Top three, microeconomics, statistics, and EVS. Oh, sorry, what did I say? Microeconomics, psychology, and EVS. And at times what happens when a student comes to us with an undecided AP, we might also tell them to take multiple diagnostic tests, exposing them to the subject. We're also realigning our so-called demo classes from teaching a subject to giving an overview of the subject in greater detail. But this would get done, I think, in about a month's time. There was one more question here. Okay, so I would now move it to the final questions round. Can students already enrolled in UG program in India also take AP? Yes, they can. Why not? You can take AP at any point in time. One last thing, how long are the AP results valid? Anyone could hazard a guess. My question is, how long are the AP results valid? Just like your SAT scores are valid for 5 years. ACT scores are valid for 5 years. How long are AP scores valid? Someone should try this. Someone should try this. I'll want at least one response. Let it be a blind guess, wild guess, no problem at all. Oh yes, that's absolutely right from Mr. C. Rahul Raju. They're valid for life. How long are your 10th grades valid? They're valid for a lifetime. So AP results are valid for a lifetime. Though on the College Board website, they'll be available for 4 years from the time the results were first published. For 4 years, you can still access them. You can still forward them to colleges for about 4 years' time. After 4 years, they're still with you. If you still want to forward them to colleges after 4 years, you will have to make a special request to College Board, but they're valid for a lifetime. Okay, any questions, please feel very free to ask. I think I'm done with whatever I had to say. I've taken a lot of your time. I do sincerely hope it was worth it. And if it was not, please do write a feedback to me on how to improve this session further. Any questions, I'll be very, very glad to take now. You may just raise your hand and ask me directly.
As we move into the question, first of all, thank you so much, Abhinav sir, for sharing all those insights. Every time we listen to you, there's always so much new to learn. So thank you for all of that. And to all the counselors who are here, I've just shared a link in the chat box. That is the link I would like you to go to and just submit a short form, a very brief form, 4 questions. So that we can send you the certificate. If the link is not working, which is not, you can just type it down because it's a very, very short link, bit.ly, that's bit.ly/AP-NG. Very short form. A question has come.
I have questions. Yeah, I'll take it up. One question from I call Sen Gupta. Would it make sense to retake an AP? Yes, if you want to improve upon your score. Even if you got a 4, never retake the AP. But if it's a 3 or lower, you want to improve it, you may do it. One question from Ms. Mary Cotino. We are a new center to conduct the exams. What is ACT? ACT stands for American College Testing. This is a parallel of the SAT test. So wherever you can go with the SAT test, you can also use the ACT. ACT is given 7 times a year. It's a computer-based test. You can Google it, American College Testing. ACT is gaining more traction now. So you can figure it out. I mean, ACT is getting quite popular in India now, though not as popular as the SAT. It's given 7 times in a year. It's a computer-based test. You have to travel to a center to take the test. There are not too many cities currently, 8 or 9 cities in India offer the ACT. Yeah, Mr. Raju. Please.
Yes, sir. So I had a question. I recall you mentioning that IB computer science is not considered to be as rigorous, and you had mentioned recommended AP computer science instead.
Correct.
Is any particular reason for that? Can you elaborate on that part?
It's not a pure science.
Okay.
Computer science is never considered as a pure science, is not even considered as an academic subject.
Okay.
If I were to advise students on what subjects they pick up, a few things would be completely out of it. One is a computer science, one is an environmental science, one is business studies. These are makeup courses. None of them, a business studies is never considered as an academic subject by colleges.
Okay.
So it doesn't really contribute to the strength of your academic curriculum. So I should use my 2 years program at IB or even at CBSE to study subjects which are more rigorous.
Right.
So rather than studying comp science at school and doing a psychology AP, study psychology at school and do a comp science AP.
Perfect. Perfect.
Psychology is an academic subject.
Right.
Let me study physics at school. No, instead of doing comp science, do chem at school and take a comp science AP, which is not very rigorous.
Right. Right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions, please? Nothing at all. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here, Devesh. And thanks for giving me this 2-hour session. I remain in debt for this.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us your time and for sharing all this wonderful information. I'm sure all these counselors enjoyed the session, and a lot of them have already filled the form in which I asked 2 questions. And I can see that, they have taken in a lot of information. So thanks for all your insights. To all the counselors who have joined us, thank you so much for joining us on this evening. And yes, the certificates are on their way in the next few days. If you would like to stay back to talk a little bit about Next Genius, or if you have any questions about Next Genius, I'll be here for the next 10 minutes. But thank you once again, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Abhinav, sir. Any final comments before we close?
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for being here. And thanks a lot, Devesh. I always enjoy my sessions at Next Genius. And thanks for offering me with this wonderful opportunity. Anyone from the counseling fraternity at any point in time, should you need anything from my end, please do not hesitate to ping me. You can all save my number. And the best time I told you to ping me is early morning. You'll find almost instantaneous responses. All right. Thank you so much. I'll take everybody's leave. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a very good evening. Thank you, Devesh. Thank you.